What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons. My name is Chris. I am your host, and with me today, returning to the show after, forever, it seems like, we have the Wonder Twins.
Did I do that?
Do what? Not be on the show for 12 weeks? Sort of.
You got it, dude.
I mean, you sort of did that. You
you
covered for
accurate.
Covered in the rotation and set yourself back.
Yeah, we did. We were being good Samaritans, and then we ended up not being on the show for that long. We're actually on strike just because Kyle really hated The Last Jedi that much.
Is that why? Is it because he had no ground to stand on?
He literally did not. Yeah, like Obi-Wan had the high ground.
Oh my gosh. But there's sand. I saw a meme the other day, and it was like Luke falling, and it cut back to that scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan are talking, and they're looking down, and it goes back to Darth Vader. He's like, I should probably save him, but what if there's sand? It was just like it was so perfect.
Oh my god!
I was like, oh man, you guys, and your sand. You guy. I mean, it's just one guy. But anyways, on to more important things to talk about. We're back. I hope everybody had a wonderful New Year and a happy Christmas time, or Hanukkah time, or Kwanzaa time. Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is not a thing. Chris Mahana Kwanzaa is also not a thing, but it is way more fun to say. So, hope everybody had a happy Chris Mahana Kwanzaa, a happy New Year. We're going to be talking about some nerdy news, but first, if you didn't know we're on the internet, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Between the Cons, and jump out onto the Apple Podcast app. The Google Play app, whatever app you're using to listen to this here show, the Overcast app, if that's your thing, and it should be because it's awesome. But review our show. Just go out, review the show. Big props to those that review us on iTunes. It's super helpful. It helps us get out there a little bit more. iTunes has this really neat, annoying formula algorithm thing that basically ranks podcasts in their list based on the number of reviews tied in with number of listeners and all that kind of stuff. So there are way more of you out there listening than there are reviewing. So let's fix that. Go review the show. Give it however many stars you want. 5 is definitely preferred. Leave a little review. Tell us something about yourself, and we'll read it on the air, or we'll talk about it on the air if you decide to be vulgar. Anyway, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about some news today. So stick around. We'll be right back.
We're going to have a pineapple situation. What should I do? Pineapple. The word that cannot be spoken. Pineapple.
Just want to say pineapple.
Pineapples are fun. My dad used to throw them at me.
Pineapple.
Seriously? Wow.
In our first pineapple point, according to Ars Technica, the World Health Organization has listed hazardous gaming and gaming disorder as potential problems due to substance use or addictive behavior in a new proposed draft update to their widely used International Compendium of Diseases. So essentially the World Health Organization, or WHO as it's, abbreviated, the WHO clearly, is really debating on putting a harder line in the sand about if video gaming can have an own disorder associated with it based on addiction and that kind of stuff.
No, it can't. I'm just gonna jump in. It's not a disorder. It's a lack of prioritizing and responsibility. That's not a disorder. That's how you were raised, or your genetic likelihood for addictive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this is even a conversation drives me crazy. because I have a very similar argument for ADD, ADHD, and how they're not disorders. They are personalities, they're characteristics. And we decide to use amphetamines to medicate. But I think this is really stupid. I do. I think it's really stupid on a less serious note than what I just said. Like, one of the things that, and I think you guys have, significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. What that means is that you choose to play video games over doing other stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about my New Year's. My wife went to sleep at like 9:40. I played Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus until like 1 a.m. I welcomed the new year by myself on my couch with BJ Blazkowicz. and I loved it. I love playing video games. I have been a much more frequent gamer in the past. The Ginger Giant and I, just the other day, were talking about how we used to play World of Warcraft and got super into it and got really, like, uncomfortably into it. Like, every free second of every day was dedicated to it. But, like, we stopped because we knew it was better for it. If it's a disorder, you can't just stop. You can't quit a disorder. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But anyways, continue with your notes.
Oh, that's
I
fine.
think that was a really good perspective on it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, I think part of the blowback, like why they're even addressing this, is particularly in like Japanese cultures where internet cafes are all the rage. Not so much here in the U.S., but internet cafes where people will go and spend hours a day using the computers there. There have been some really high-profile deaths from people that have been gaming for like, 2 to 3 days straight in these cafes, and they just like keel over of like heart failure, or like they have like a severe health issue where like they just do not stop for like long periods of time. And I mean, I think that anything can be an addictive behavior.
Yes.
Like, so I don't think it's like video games are any more prone to being addictive than anything else. It's not. I mean, certainly I think drugs.
It lacks like the chemical addiction.
Right.
But like there are people that work out until they're hospitalized.
Yeah.
Like there are people at CrossFit gyms every day, it seems like, that go to the hospital for working out so much that they hurt themselves because they have no concept of when to stop. Speaking
of, how do you know somebody's in CrossFit?
Because
don't worry,
told me.
They'll tell you. Got it.
No, a vegan atheist and CrossFitter walk into a bar. Who talks first?
Who?
There's not a joke. That is the joke, because they all talk at the same time. But no, it's the same concept. It's an addictive behavior. Will I deny that video game or gaming in general is an addictive behavior, even board gaming? No, I won't, because it is. It's an addictive behavior. And I mean, people snort coke until they die of a heart attack. People do CrossFit until they tear a muscle or dislocate a knee or whatever. People play video games until they like have to be hospitalized for dehydration, sleep deprivation, all these kinds of things. It happens. Caffeine overdose. Like it freaking happens. But those people, it's not a disorder. It's an addiction. And it's a lack of understanding and a lack of understanding when to stop, and a lack of irresponsibility to know when your body says stop, that you need to stop.
And that would be a really good discussion to have at some point, because this is even a divisive factor within the psychological community between psychologists and psychiatrists, as to what the very nature of addiction is. Should you treat it as a disease, or should you treat it as a behavior? And that's where really I think the World Health Organization has stepped in, and what's caused like a huge controversy as to whether this needs to be treated treat it as disease. And that's a really good topic for discussion because it's not, you can't really consider anything can be an addictive behavior. So where's that line drawn when it becomes disease? And that's kind of an interesting thing that WHO has decided to kind of go in this direction with it. And as I said, I feel like it's definitely more of an issue that's been seen in Japanese and South Korean cultures, but it's definitely come stateside, especially in PC gaming.
Sure.
But yeah, so look for more of that in the news. And pineapple.
There it is. So not Apple. Some analysts, some money people have thought, what's next for Apple? And they have somehow come to the conclusion that Apple is going to try and take a stab at acquiring Netflix. Which, okay, that's tell me more. That's where I stand. Tell me more. How did you get there? Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to guess that because Amazon has Amazon Prime, and we just went through this huge kerfuffle of Amazon Apple hand-holding to get Amazon Prime on the Apple TV.
Yeah.
That Apple doesn't have its own streaming service.
Mm-mm.
They don't.
That's true.
They resell movies in the iTunes store, which they've done for like a decade. It seems like. I don't know if it's actually been a decade, but it feels like a decade. But
the old antiquated iTunes store.
Right. But like they don't have a streaming service. They have no original content to view on their own television device.
Nope.
So, of course, why not buy the largest streaming service out there right now? Mm-hmm. They're guessing that Apple will have to spend somewhere around $220 billion to make the acquisition.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Here's the thing that sucks. Let's pretend this happens. And this, I really just wanted to bring it up because I think it's silly and I don't think Apple will do it. I think they'll flood the market with another streaming service before they spend $220 billion acquiring one because they're cocky.
Yeah.
They bought Beats before Beats were really popular. And now they're everywhere. And they're going to look at that and they're going to see we can do this again. We can totally do it. And
they tried to do it with Apple Music also. I mean, literally they made their own streaming service and got Taylor Swift as an exclusive artist. And
oh, yeah. Well, like Steven,
I don't know if it paid off for them.
Steven uses Apple Music and that's all well and good, but Spotify's the same thing. And I had Spotify before I had Apple Music. The UI for Apple Music was gosh darned terrible when it first launched. So I did the 3-month trial and I got about 3 days into it and decided I'm not using Apple Music anymore. Because the UI was so garbage. So I think that Apple will try and build their own before they spend $220 billion. But if they do somehow acquire Netflix, I worry for Netflix original content. Because Netflix original content suddenly becomes Apple original content. And Netflix is doing a really good job. I mean, not just even in our fandom with the Marvel Netflix universe and with Bright and with Black Mirror, the most recent season of that. Like all these shows that Netflix is helming that are within the sci-fi fantasy situation, but also the other ones like I literally almost said Stranger Things and the OA, which are both sci-fi, but like Master of None is a great example. Netflix original comedy series with Aziz Ansari. I worry for that because we don't know if Apple has the ability to make good original content.
Look, man, they did great with Hotline Bling. I don't know what you're talking about. That was a classic. That was a great music video.
Apple makes great commercials.
They do.
They make great 5-minute long commercials. They make terrible music videos. Even the iPod commercials weren't great because they were more like a music video.
What makes you wonder, there's such a big difference between when you own a company versus doing the production for a company, because I would suffice to say 90 to 99% of Fortune 500 companies outsource at least part of their television and movie marketing. That it's not done in-house, it's done by marketing firms. And so you've got to wonder, Netflix supposedly is original and has their own production company doing their stuff. Would Apple even want to get involved in production? I mean, if they're doing this type of, if they're doing their own marketing with their commercials and their commercials aren't great, would they want to even do full-scale production, or would they just leave it to people that actually know what they're doing?
I feel like they're too cocky to keep their hands out. Like, as a person who's sitting in front of an iMac, an Apple Cinema display, wearing an Apple Watch with an iPhone in my hand, I think they're too cocky. I think if they acquire Netflix, they will get elbow deep in Netflix, and they will screw everything up, and they will try to put their own spin on it, and it will be Netflix powered by Apple or something like that, and it will change. And then all of a sudden, Disney wins because they have their streaming service, and they now have Fox, and they have every other thing that we were raised on.
Well, Apple cannot be a quiet owner in anything. Like,
No.
They have to have their brand on it, and that's not always a good thing.
I agree, 100%. So it just makes me nervous. It was just one of those things where, I mean, it's completely rumor. It's not even likely. It was just an interesting article that I read that I wanted to talk about, because Netflix seems to be something that we talk more and more about on this show, as they become more and more relevant in our fandoms. But yeah, Pineapple.
Well, in more Apple news, you'll get really excited about this, young Christopher, because all the good news happens in the middle to end of December, obviously.
Apparently, right?
Apparently. So you guys all heard over the break, I'm sure, about Apple reducing the price of out-of-warranty battery replacements on iPhone 6s or later from $79 to $29 to try to appease people over the fact that
people were pissed.
They were mad. They were basically lowering a certain iPhone's performances based on how much usable battery life, according to Apple standards, the phone had left, and the people had no way of opting in or out of lowered performance at the cost of reduced battery life. So obviously that was the big tech controversy of middle to late December. And the question has been how these replacements are going to work. Is everybody eligible? Is it only those that fail Apple's own battery test?
Right. I'm going to say this really quick about the throttling, because we didn't talk about it on the show because we took a break for the holidays. About the throttling. If you're an iPhone owner and you didn't think that was already happening, shame on you. You're dumb. That obviously it's happening. You can feel it happening. Somebody gets the new iPhone, you ask to play with it, it's performing so much faster than yours. That's not because they upgraded the chip to an A5 chip. You don't even know what that means. Steve Woz doesn't even know what that means. And he talks about it at the keynote. Like, it's not that big of a change that you can see that type of performance differ. Now, that being said, who cares? Because you have an iPhone. Okay, well, let me say this. If you have an iPhone and you're not in some sort of contract with your phone carrier, why do you have an iPhone? Because you obviously cannot afford it. And that's just a statement. If you have an iPhone and you're T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, whoever, you're on some kind of plan where you get a new phone in 2 years. Your phone's performance is not going to be throttled so drastically in a 6-month time period that it's going to make you need a new phone.
Gotcha, yeah.
Shut up. Like, if you have an Android phone and you're like waving your colors in your green flag in the face of an iPhone user, shame on you too, because you have a phone that is so open as far as development that by the time you get a phone, by the time you purchase a brand new model, you are already behind the Android standard operating system, and you cannot upgrade. That's on you. You cannot upgrade your phone until Android says, all right, we're ready for your model to be upgraded. So don't tell me that Android's better than iPhone. Don't tell me iPhone's better than Android. It's a preference. If you like Android, you like Android. If you like iPhone, you like iPhone. Either way, your phone is not performing at peak performance ever. So stop talking about it, because it's not that big of a deal. But this battery thing, I like this battery thing. Keep talking about the battery thing.
I don't know. I'm more of a jitterbug user, so I mean,
go home.
Honestly, I guess the silver lining of all this, Christopher, if it eases your mind at all, is that as of Monday of this week, which would of course be January 1st, a French tech blog, iGeneration.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, reported that an internal Apple Store memo has been circulated, which states that if a customer asks, if they come to an Apple Store and a customer asks for a battery replacement on iPhone 6 or later, that the Genius Bar should allow it regardless of if the phone passes the Apple's diagnostic test. So even if you've not had an issue, even if it does not fail a battery diagnostic, Apple will still replace your battery in your phone if you have at least an iPhone 6 for $29.
It shouldn't matter.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't matter if it passes a diagnostic test. If my phone battery dies at 13, if my phone shuts off at 13% and it holds a charge for 2 hours in idle, if it passes your diagnostic test, I should be able to say as a consumer, I want a new battery though. And they should be like, okay, here you go.
Apple's batteries wholesale at, anywhere from
cents.
$10. Yeah, literally like a few cents on the dollar if you buy probably thousands at a time.
Yeah.
But so the price on a battery replacement before this was way too expensive to begin with, especially for a non-replaceable battery.
Right.
That, essentially non-replaceable. That, so
that you can't replace yourself.
Exactly, without voiding your warranty.
And I mean, like, the one consolation is that some people are suggesting that, like, people that are also mad are people that paid full price for a battery replacement before this announcement. So there's some speculations that, like, if you got your battery replaced at $79 prior to the December 30th change, that you can get a refund. So if you happen to go out there and spend $79 to get your battery replaced through Apple, you can check with them and see if you get your money back on it.
Let me tell you a story. I've got a 2011 27-inch iMac sitting in front of me. The day after it delivered, Apple announced the new iMac.
Oh,
get over it.
my God.
I hate Apple fanboys. As an Apple fanboy, I hate Apple fanboys because they get so butthurt about their product. But like, I bought a $2,000 desktop behemoth of a machine. And the day after I turned it on for the first time, I found out that a bigger, better model was on its way.
Oh yeah, you're never going to have the
That's
latest.
Tough luck.
Yeah. I mean, the newest iPhone is going to be never new enough. The newest iMac, the newest MacBook, the newest Apple Watch is never going to be the newest.
It's literally true. The moment you get something, it's already obsolete.
Exactly.
Like, that's the nature of it, because they hold back the newer technology to sell it to you at an increased price later.
Right.
That's the nature of the industry. You're always behind.
Exactly. They only sell you the tried and true technology. And
exactly.
Once they have time to test and to QA all of the new technology, that technology's been in existence for 6 months, 9 months, years. So you're getting technology that's already been around for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so long in air quotes, because we're talking about technology, so a long time is actually a very short amount of time.
But that one industry that Apple computer's yet to crack, touchscreen. They just don't know how to handle it. It's scary, Chris. It's scary.
I just don't want fingerprints on my monitor.
Well, then you can just use that touch bar. That touch bar is just the most useful thing ever.
I don't want that either because it's useless.
Oh, gosh. Maybe one day. Well, we'll see if Apple will ride its ship one of these days and if the fanboys will just not be as fanboyish one day. We'll see how all this goes down and around the other side of the bend and around the other pineapple.
You guys are just pushing all my buttons in this episode so far.
You're
talking about that stupid disease, and now you're talking about Apple.
I know, you're just being a salty hacker these days, Chris.
I am. But I do have some.
You're getting old.
I guess I'm turning into Pawpaw. That should be my on-screen or on-air nickname for the show. Is Pawpaw.
It should be. That's a lot better than Dr. Big Boy Pants. So.
Dr. Big Boy Pants. Man, I want that to go away. Anyways, Netflix had a movie come out. The 21st, I believe.
Can I tell you something about Netflix? I hate Netflix. I just think that Hulu is the better one. They have I Love Lucy episodes on Hulu, and I just think Hulu's better. Better, but it doesn't matter how I know it. But continue about Netflix.
I guess that's fair. But Netflix had a movie come out called Bright. Right before the holiday, and it was fantastic. It is a buddy cop movie about corruption and all this kind of stuff. Really fun, dark, edgy sci-fi movie. Orcs.
Oh, is that the
elves.
one with Melissa McCartney and that guy from Coleman?
Did you just say Melissa McCartney?
Oh, McCarthy. Sorry.
What is that? Paul's sister?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, she was in that buddy cop movie. I'm sure it's totally the same buddy cop movie you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same one. It's called Bright. I already said that. It's got Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. That guy.
You tried.
Orcs, elves, fairies, humans.
Oh, yeah,
magic wands.
Wow.
It's really fun. It's a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fantastic. It's a little predictable, but it was good. It was just great. But anyways, the point of the pineapple point is that in the opening weekend, 11 million views.
Oh wow!
For that movie,
Yeah.
that's better than Star Wars did.
It's ridiculous.
That's better than The Last Jedi.
Wow!
Like in box office numbers.
That's pretty incredible.
Because you look at it and you think, worldwide average movie ticket is $8.91. So 11, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 98,010,000.
Yeah.
And I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe I saw somewhere that The Last Jedi did 97. We're going to look it up on Box Office Mojo. who is not a sponsor, but they are a very great website. So
we won't be opposed if they sponsor us, though.
We will not be opposed. Will not. So just Star Wars Last Jedi came in just a little bit higher, but Bright did almost as well as Star Wars Last Jedi in domestic opening weekend.
Impressed?
In terms of those views, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's bonkers. I just wanted to bring that movie up. Honestly, that's the only reason for this Pineapple Point. It was really good. If you have Netflix and you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's called Bright. It's got Will Smith in it. It's funny, but it's also like drama and sci-fi and good and buddy cop and good. Pineapple.
So, according to Nintendo Life, the Nintendo Switch has now outsold the PS2 in terms of year one sales in Japan, which is oddly specific, but just follow me here for a
super
moment.
specific stat.
It is, but I mean, like, okay, so obviously the PS2 is one of the best-selling consoles of all time.
Sure.
And Nintendo's predicting that by next year, they're hoping to have 20 million Nintendo Switches sold, which is a really high amount.
Shooting for the stars.
But,
all right.
Exactly. But I mean, like, so they're currently, the reason part of this is that it's impressive to see how the Switch has sold so much in Japan, which is, you know, the home market of Nintendo. So currently at this point in time, like, Nintendo sold just under 3.3 million Switch consoles in Japan, while at this point in time, the PS2 had only sold 3 million. So it's already outpacing the PS2. And the comparisons between this are notable because they were both released in March, early March. The Switch was released in 2017, the PS2 in 2000. One major difference is the Switch sold 520,000 units in its first month, but the PS2 sold 900,000 in its first month.
That's because everybody was nervous about Nintendo releasing another console.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's fine. Like, who cares if it outsold it at first?
Yeah.
After the Wii U, I was nervous to even think about the Switch.
I mean, and that's one thing that I think people, now their trepidations are over, now that the Switch has had such an amazing library of games, like, I've never had so many games to play at launch on a unit. Like, it's ridiculous just how many games.
So many games that didn't suck to play at launch.
Absolutely, including third-party games coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really impressive. So, you know, that's one thing that is really... I mean, one other big comparison is both of them had production issues at the start. Like, Sony had production issues with the PS2. The Nintendo had issues with the Switch. But it's impressive that already by this point, it's not even been a year, but yet the out of the gate, the Switch is outselling the PS2, at least in Japan. I can't really speak to numbers in Europe or North America, but at least the Japanese market, they seem to really take it on. So be on the lookout. We'll see if Nintendo does hit that magic 20 million sold number in the next financial year. We'll see what happens. Pineapple.
I did not prepare myself. So we'll talk about this one. Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane has a show called Family Guy. You probably heard of it. He also has another show that's way better, in my opinion, called The Orville. I've talked about The Orville a few times on the show. I like it a lot. It's a really...
All three of you really enjoy it.
All three of us. Me, my wife, and my dog. We're the only people that watch it. No, but it is fantastic. It is a really good show. It's a great parody. It's funny. It's got original content. It's good. It's really good. But recently, I found out that Seth MacFarlane made his own Star Trek fan film as a teenager.
Aww.
So somewhere around 87 or 88, he stepped into the role of Captain Kirk.
Wow.
And shot a true fan film of Star Trek, not Star Wars.
Wow.
Which makes a lot of sense because now he's got the Orville. They've made fun of Star Trek a bunch on Family Guy. He's very obviously a fan, so he's got to be living out some kind of like nerd dream by creating and starring in the Orville. But I just thought it was really funny. I feel like that's like what I would do if I was 44 years old and rolling in cash. Is like, what were the things I wanted to do as a child? I want to be Captain Kirk. Well, you can't be Captain Kirk because that's licensed property. Can I be Captain Mercer then? Sure. So, like, I just think it's really cool, like, seeing a true fanboy grow up and actually do something great with it, like the Orville, and not like a tabletop gaming TV YouTube series and guest starring in The Big Bang Theory.
Those daggers.
No, I think it's cool to see a true nerd grow up and get to live that out. Instead.
Well, see, I thought Codename Steam was just the best game for the 3DS.
Great game.
Anyways, well, I guess we're done talking about this. So, Pineapple.
Well, you know, Chris, just like this week's Pineapple episode, Black Panther's rumored to have an over 2-hour runtime. You know, according to a listing on eventcinemas.com, the only source for movie information, you know, forget IMDb, it's eventcinemas.com.
Sure,
you know.
I've heard of it before.
Oh, yeah, totally. The movie clocks in at 2 hours and 15 minutes. Should this figure prove accurate, it would make Black Panther one of the longer Marvel Cinematic solo features. Usually, as you guys know, they fall short of 2 hours with, like, Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok and Ant-Man. If this happens to be true, the extended length, you know, could possibly indicate that they may be trying to really develop Black Panther as a really deep universe, and also the country of Wakanda as well. And so, you know, obviously Wakanda is going to be really prevalent in Black Panther, and obviously it's going to tie into Avengers Infinity War as well, as seen in the trailer for Infinity War. So maybe the runtime, if it's accurate, I think it'll be a good movie. I mean, the trailer looks really good. You know, but that runtime, it's going to really make you wonder how much content they can really push into it and keep the audience engaged. Especially with Black Panther being a new property.
I think that there is so much hype around Black Panther, they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch 2 hours and 15 minutes of Black Panther. I know Dane will watch 2 hours and 15 minutes of Black Panther at least 3 times. I mean, I don't. My biggest problem was when it starts to crest the 2:30 mark.
Right.
Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Because then it just like it feels like you're dragging it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter how good your story is. If I'm watching it for 2.5 hours, I'm starting to get bored.
Well, I felt that way a little. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say, Marvel does really good about not making them feel too long. I think the only exception, in my opinion, would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only movie that I felt was running long.
Mm-hmm,
in the MCU, at least.
Really, I don't know. Infinity War is going to be interesting, the runtime on it, because if it's shorter than Black Panther, I don't know if they're going to be. That plot's going to have to be a really good plot for people not to see that runtime and wonder if it's going to be scrunched.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll find out, though, won't we?
Yes, we will.
Pineapple.
So Marvel decided it would be a good idea to give Thanos a name other than Thanos.
I heard you really like this decision.
I love it, but I feel like I feel like I've vented enough, so I
No,
can't.
go for it.
Continue. Let's
Continue. I love your rants and your
Yeah,
vents.
I think it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Thanos' name is derivative of thanatology, the study of death. He is the Mad Titan. He is the destroyer, like, of everything. He is Thanos. That's why it's so good. But apparently, that's not his real name. In the Thanos series by Marvel, they decided that he was his mama, Sui-san, named him Dion.
Dion?
Really?
Dion, Dione, Dion, or Dion, or Dion, or Dion. I don't know. I think it's dumb. I think it's really stupid. I hate that they gave him a name. Other famous people named Dion. Alicia Silverstone's best friend from Clueless.
Mm-hmm.
You're in good company, Thanos.
Deion Sanders.
Dionne Warwick.
Deion Sanders. That's actually a good one. He was really good.
He's not exactly a destroyer of worlds, though.
That's
I mean, he was
true.
good, but
He was good. He was not destroyer of worlds good. Yeah. He was not big purple mad titan angry giant man good. But it's something that, with it being so close to Infinity War, the release of Thanos number 14, it makes me wonder if that was something that they kind of threw out there for introducing in the movie, which please don't. Let's just write this out of canon and pretend like it doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you on that. I think that would be a really, really good move.
Yeah. I think Thanos has never needed a name other than Thanos. So let's not give him one because we think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that you're a very, very wise statesman for agreeing with that statement.
Yeah, you better agree with it.
I better agree, or else I will be out of a podcast job.
Boom. Pineapple.
So, according to Reuters, the only place I listen to news, AP's for chumps. Reuters is where it's at for syndicated
I totally
news.
thought that was pronounced Reuters. Reuters. Reuters.
Roto-Rooters.
Yeah, like that.
In a California federal court last week, which I'm fully convinced the only thing that happens the week between Christmas and New Year's is lawsuits that appear in the news. In a California federal court last week, Spotify was sued for $1.6 billion.
That's a lot of dollars.
That's a lot of dollars by Wixen Music Publishing, who you guys have probably never heard of Wixen,
Nope.
But you've heard the artists they have licenses for. Tom Petty, The Doors, Weezer, basically the only bands Chris listened to in high school. And
I only
Stevie
listened to
Nicks.
one of those bands in high school, and it was Weezer.
Oh, okay. So you were not that cool of a kid.
I didn't like The Doors because it was what all the air quotes hippie kids listened to in high school, and I air quotes hated them.
Oh yeah, and only the rich kids listened to Tom Petty and had the Heartbreaker shirts.
Yeah, I never got into Tom Petty. I mean, rest in peace, but I hated his music. I just didn't like it. He had a couple good tracks that struck a chord, but for me. But other than that, I never really liked him. And Stevie Nicks, let's be honest, if it's not Edge of 17, what is it?
It's somebody's listening to it for Wixen to be suing for $1.6 billion, I guess.
I think somebody's just listening to Edge of 17 on repeat.
Well, that could happen. Stranger things have happened. Basically, it's the same thing we've heard before with lawsuits against Spotify. Very similar. Wixon's accusing Spotify of not licensing materials properly, that they're outsourcing their licensing to a third party, and that third party's not. The exact quote from the lawsuit apparently is, the third party is ill-equipped to obtain all the necessary mechanical licenses. So the third party is not doing the right thing to get the licenses properly. And licensing is a complex thing, especially if you're thinking about Spotify or Spotify in the UK or Spotify in Asia. Those all require different licensing, especially if a song's in public domain in one country but not in another. And another thing like this happened back in May when Spotify settled a $43 million with an M dollar class action lawsuit, of them failing to pay royalties on certain songs. So it's just another lawsuit. This one, it's ironic we were just talking about Apple Music a little bit ago. I feel like Apple is probably in a better position to obtain licenses than Spotify is at this point. So that's going to be a really interesting question to see how this all plays out. Obviously, Spotify's getting ready for an IPO on the stock market, and we'll see how that turns out, if this will affect it at all. But
yeah, it plays well for Apple Music, that's for sure.
It does. And even Pandora. I don't like Pandora.
And Google Play Music.
That's true. I'm not a fan of Google Play Music either, but we'll see what happens. Pineapple.
Marvel is setting up a create-your-own comics platform.
Oh, gosh.
Which is interesting, but it's they're teaming up with TapTap to release Marvel Create Your Own, which is a very creative name.
Is this an idea from a 90s Marvel website?
Sort of, yeah. But it's basically a digital platform that will allow you to use Marvel characters to create your own comic books. So it's all digital comic, and it kind of sounds like from the article that you'll be pretty much copying and pasting like scene backgrounds and character drawings into your own your own panels and adding text.
Wait, this has been done before. This was done. There's specific game. I think it may have been even a Marvel game in the late 90s that had to do with making your own comics.
They've done it a lot. It's not their first rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
But you can totally sign up right now, which if you want to sign up, I guess you can.
Mm-hmm.
Their website, I just closed my phone. It's marvelcreateyourown.taptapcomics.com.
Jeez, that's a very long URL.
Yes, it is.
And it's just TAP?
Yes, tap, like double tap.
Okay.
marvelcreateyourown.taptapcomics.com. You can create your own comics using Marvel characters on the interwebs. So they have the sign up so you can get updates. So when it is actually released, you can jump right in if that's your thing. I have, as a huge Marvel fanboy, I have zero interest in doing that.
Well, you're just so busy with your DeviantArt and Tumblr accounts, so I don't know how you'd have time for this.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how I could possibly make time with all of my Tumblr and DeviantArt.
Just tell it like it is.
I'm not gonna. I'll say this: people that have Tumblr and DeviantArt are the same people that like 4chan. Pineapple.
So, last week, Nintendo lost its most recent appeal of a $10 million verdict in a patent infringement case.
And guess who reported this? It wasn't Nintendo Life. It was not IGN initially. It was
Donald
not
Trump.
Ars Technica, and it wasn't Donald Trump, shockingly. He did not report this. Rolling Stone was the only major news outlet the week of Christmas to report this.
Makes perfect sense.
So, essentially, the lawsuit accused Nintendo of infringing on a motion sensing accelerometer patent held by iLife Technologies. And in August 2017, a jury in Texas found that Nintendo infringed the patent. And then Nintendo still has another opportunity to appeal the ruling. But these sort of things happen with anybody that releases a console or a handheld. You release it, you think, oh, well, all this technology is proprietary, it's all fresh, I got all my patents in line. And then out of the woodwork come all of these people. A lot of times they're called patent trolls. People that just make these obscure pieces of technology and don't do anything with it. And then they look for another company that happens to make something similar, even if the company that ultimately makes it has no knowledge of this little company existing. But then they sue these big companies for multi-million-dollar lawsuits.
Here's a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to sue iLife Technologies for infringing on Apple's iBlank branding strategy?
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Also, I had to look up iLife because I have no clue who they are. And the second sentence on their website is iLife Digital Technology is one of the world's top 6 PC companies with presence over 43 countries. And I've never heard of them before. And I'm flipping through their pages, and like they have knockoffs of like the MacBook Air. They have knockoffs of the Surface. They have knockoffs of whichever Windows tablet it is that folds back onto it's like a laptop that folds back onto itself.
That Surface Book stuff.
Surface Book. I mean, they have a knockoff of all this stuff. And like even the iLife logo on this MacBook Air ripoff, the I in iLife is like a weird thumbs up, and it's small enough that it kind of looks like the Apple logo.
Oh.
And then they have like tablets, they have smartphones that look like the iPhone, and whichever the one is, the LG phone that has the finger sensor on the back. Or no, it's the Google Pixel. Looks just like the Google Pixel, except it's gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they are a patent troll for sure. For sure.
It's just one of those things that now the people who love patent trolls are the patent trolls themselves. I think of Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank. He loves him some patent trolling. But like it's one of those things that there's such a difference between a patent infringement doing it out of having done a genuine patent search before applying for a patent, and deliberately stealing somebody's patent. And that's where there needs to be a Supreme Court case, if there's not already been one, that really does have a measure of a gauge between where maybe a patent attorney or the U.S. government failed to catch a patent before it was filed to find it clashed with another one, versus somebody deliberately stealing a patent. Like that's, and granted, I know it's all civil litigation, but there does need to be some type of standard to stop this type of patent trolling from happening, because I say Nintendo Japan did not deliberately go and steal anything from iLife Technologies. That they knew existed,
right?
And
I mean,
so
I'm looking for the Z Watch R, which is their like top of the line smartwatch. Mm-hmm. I'm looking to buy it in US dollars anywhere on the internet, and I cannot find a single place to buy it in US dollars.
Oh wow!
The only place I can find to buy it has it in AED, which I don't even know what AED currency is.
I'm not sure either.
Arab Emirates dirhams.
Oh, wow.
So it's Dubai. This company is based in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess that this company is based in Dubai somewhere, and they are for real patent trolling.
They trolling. They see me trolling. They hate it.
They are hating for surezies.
But so we'll see how this plays out. Nintendo's got a whole lot of cash in their bank, so 10 million.
Switch.
Is just a drop in the
funny.
bucket in a way. But hopefully we'll see what happens with it and Pineapple.
And I don't have any more pineapple points, so that's the end of the show.
Da 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 da.
Thank you guys so much for
Swing
tuning
your
in.
arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go do the Mario.
We're gonna do that then.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, we can go with it, but go on with what you were saying. Yours is more important.
Let's do the Mario after the show is over. We're not gonna do the Mario. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check us out on BetweenTheCons.com. Follow us on the internet at BetweenTheCons. Subscribe to the show. Review the show. Do all the things to the show. Be a part of our family. Our Between the Cons family.
BTC.
But we're going to be back on Monday. We have a Topic Thunder episode for you. We're going to talk about everything that we're excited for this year in 2018. So you don't want to miss out. Tune in on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye.
There's a special circle in hell for people that say espresso.